travel. We'll probably do that a couple other times this year. But the one, the only, somebody who exceeds everybody's knowledge just when it comes to the franchise that is the San Francisco 49ers. He writes for The Athletic, and I read him, as many of you do as well, each and every week. Matt Barrows joins us. Hello, Matt. How are you?
I'm well. How are you, Dave?
I love my Niners, and so this is not a hey Matt, let's have hot takes. Like I love this team, and I have my whole life. I'm trying to figure this out. I'm trying to figure out, because I hate injuries. I think they should be outlawed. I hate what happened to Trey Lance. I'm not one of those. They're better with Jimmy Garoppolo, even though I might be wrong. But is there a way to ethically open up to the possibility that they're a better team today with Jimmy Garoppolo, and use that as just some sort of optimism for the fan base without sounding like a complete ass when it comes to Trey Lance and how horrible that was?
No, I mean, I think that's just called an analysis, right?
Yeah.
I think it is right. Jimmy Garoppolo is the better passer of the two right now. In mid-September, the reason why they were going with Lance is that they felt that the big missing element with Trey Lance is his experience, his lack of experience. So you give him all these snaps, and over time, he becomes better than Jimmy Garoppolo, a better quarterback, a more dangerous quarterback. And does that happen at mid-season? Is it December? Is it going into year 3 for Lance? I don't know what it was, but he needed the seasoning, the experience to do that, and so that's why he had one guy on the bench and one guy starting. But here we are going into week 3, and I certainly think that the 49ers passing game is now better, at least more consistent with Jimmy Garoppolo at the helm. And you can argue that the running game isn't quite as dangerous, and I think that is also right. But the 49ers have had some tremendous running games with Jimmy Garoppolo under center, going back to the 2019 playoffs against the Packers, last year's game against the Rams that really kind of jolted the 49ers into their winning ways. And then yesterday, they ran the ball 45 times, with 33 of those coming after Garoppolo entered the game. So I think that it is a stronger team. I think it's really the future now that you're really worried about if you're a 49ers fan.
Matt Barrows of The Athletic with us. So much of this year was the tantalizing future, the unknown with Trey Lance, the hope. So he played like 5 quarters, not even that. Going into next year, and God knows what's going to happen between now and then, but let's just assume for a second, and I think it's kind of a safe assumption that Trey Lance will be starting game 1 next year. I would bet on that rather than the opposite. So, Matt, do we know anything more? Did you learn anything about Trey Lance in 4.5 quarters that did you learn anything?
Well, I mean, it's a great point, because there's going to be all sorts of quotes from coaches and Lance about how he was able to go up into the booth this season and really kind of observe things from on high and watch Jimmy operate. And yes, I took steps forward in my development, but really the answer is going to be no. You need to be out there playing. So that's the big loss here, is that he's losing another year of development. This is the guy whose 2020 season in college was wiped out by COVID, who last year was up and down because of one injury after another, to the point where he went off to work with his quarterback coaches in February, March, and April, and really all they were doing was getting him back to normal where he had started 2021. I mean, there wasn't any additional improvement of his throwing motion, shortening it, making it more efficient. He'd gotten so beat up as a rookie, he just had to get back to status quo for him. So it's a great question, and the other great question is, does Kyle Shanahan, as they begin the 2023 season, start to see him differently? I mean, because it's obvious now that the big lure for for Trey Lance, the reason why Shanahan drafted him is because he likes him as a runner. He made that clear from draft day.
Yeah.
That when a guy can run, it gives you an extra element. You have to play 11 on 11 if you're the defense. We like him because of his runner. It's not. I think a lot of people thought, okay, he's sort of weaning him on this game by allowing him to run, and that gives him lots of experience, and eventually he becomes just a pocket-only quarterback. I mean, Shanahan really likes the fact that he can run the ball, and it's clear from the scant games that we've seen that this was a major element of the game plan. So I think that has to change. And if it doesn't change, then that's on Kyle Shanahan, because it's clear now that you can't run him 15 times a game and expect him not to get injured.
Matt Barrow's with us. A tweet from Ed Werder from about a year ago, and I'm sure other people disseminated this too. This is from a scrum, I would imagine, saying that Kyle Shanahan said despite injuries at running back, again, this was a year ago, he doesn't view rookie Trey Lance as a solution to create rushing yards. Quote, he's not Lamar Jackson. Trey is a quarterback who has the ability to run, but to just line him up and run him, the game is too physical. Now, this is being disseminated by some as a gotcha at Kyle Shanahan. Again, nobody knows more than you. Every quote that's ever come out, everything that's in and out of context. Is there any fairness, or overall, do you think it's fair that people are throwing that comment back in Kyle's face, or is it a little out of context?
Well, no, I think it's fair. I mean, he's the play caller. I mean, this didn't come out of the blue. There were all sorts of questions coming out of the Bears game about how much Lance ran the ball, and not just the sheer number, but it was the way he was running the ball. It wasn't scampering out of the pocket, then doing a quick slide, or scampering out of the pocket and then getting out of bounds as fast as possible. It was getting out of the pocket and then lowering your shoulder into Roquan Smith and other linebackers. There was this, I think it was very telling that Shanahan was on the defensive yesterday after the game. Why was Trey Lance running the ball so much between the tackles? And he said, well, look, the Buffalo Bills do it all the time. Nobody's critiquing them. So there's this comparison between Lance and Josh Allen that, I think that the 49ers liked. A big physical quarterback who can sling the ball, big arm, heavy arm, throw the ball downfield, but also can, take it to a defense. So I think that this is very much part of their MO this year, even though there was all sorts of evidence from last year that maybe this wasn't going to be sustainable. And that's what all the questions were about in the lead up to the Seahawks game. Can you run him 16, 13? 16 was the number he ran against the Cardinals last year and came away with a knee injury in that game. And expect this guy to last 17 games. And now we know the answer. The answer is no. He couldn't even last one game and one quarter with that type of style. So, yeah, I think it's absolutely fair to be asking these questions of Kyle Shanahan right now.
Matt Barrow's with us. Last thing, there's nobody in that locker room, obviously, that's happy Trey Lance is out. But I would imagine there are a lot of people in the locker room that, if having to accept that Trey Lance was out, would rather walk into fire with nobody above Jimmy Garoppolo. In other words, they Eric Armstead, somebody explained to us throughout last year that locker room was owned by Jimmy Garoppolo, and the way he handled everything in the offseason, he endeared himself and already was endeared to so many around the organization and so many fans. So Trey Lance hurt, sucks, period. Next chapter. Do you think this locker room is a hell of a lot more healthy mentally and emotionally because it's Jimmy coming back under center?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I go back to 2018, and Jimmy Garoppolo gets hurt in week 3, ACL, and I mean, all hope is gone. I mean, the season is essentially over at that point. It's basically a tryout to see who's going to be here in future years. You have the sadness for Trey Lance and the sorrow and the somberness that you described going in, but nobody thinks that this season's over. I mean, almost the opposite, that there might be a bit of an uptick early on. Yeah, I mean, I think it's an absolute big deal. I mean, it's a shrewd move. I mean, everybody was saying this at the time that all of a sudden you've bolstered the big quarterback spot with a Super Bowl caliber quarterback, and you saw that yesterday. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo came in and he ran the game plan that was designed for Trey Lance. So he had 4 runs. He had 2 read option plays that turned into keepers. So that's going to change, obviously, moving forward. But it just shows you the mastery that Garoppolo has. Didn't take a snap in training camp, didn't take a snap in the preseason, comes in with somebody else's game plan on Sunday, and this team wins 27-7.
Oh, I should probably have my microphone on. Matt, appreciate you as always. Look out for Matt Barrows this week. Get yourself a subscription or 2, like me, one for the kid. The Athletic, go to the website, go to the app. That's what I use. The app is so cool. They're constantly updating it. You can curate it, whether it's teams, authors, a combination of both, which is what I do. I've got Kings, I've got Niners, I got Matt Barrows, I got Sam Amos, et cetera. And make sure you support that journalism. Read all of Matt's good stuff. You're not going to find better coverage anywhere than our very own Matt Barrows. Buddy, we appreciate it. Thank you as always, and we'll talk to you in a week.
Thanks, Dave, and say hello to Whitey for him. Say Matt Barrows says hi.
I will 100% say hello to Whitey tomorrow morning. Appreciate you, buddy.
All right, talk to you soon.
Take care. That is Matt Barrows. When we come back, lots to recap there.